John Wick Chapter 2. Of course, this is going to be my spoiler-free video, so of course if you guys want to skip over this and go straight to spoilers, I'll have a link in the description once I upload my spoiler discussion. It took me 4 days to finally see, well, obviously I'm doing this like 3 weeks behind, but when I finally had the money out of poorness to see the film, it took me 4 days to finally get to see this. So on Thursday, my girlfriend had to pick up her brother from the airport. The next day, we couldn't make it to the movie in time because a train was going past and it blocked up all the traffic. So that's actually how I saw Lego Batman earlier than expected. The day before yesterday, my girlfriend wasn't feeling good, so we didn't end up going. And yesterday, we finally got to see it. And it was fun. I was really excited to see this. Ever since it was announced, I was like, I really love that first movie. I couldn't wait to see, how they do this. And then, of course, once it came out, it was getting good reviews. And I'm like, man, that makes me want to see it even more because the first one was so, kind of just out of nowhere, great action film. And when you have something like that, especially with John Wick, where the first movie is like, here's the story, and then here's the rest of the film. How in the world do they make that work a second time? And they do it well. They do add a bit more, so it's not like this small where it's literally the first scene and you get emotional, and then after that it's him killing people. There is more explanation to it, and I definitely enjoy that. But I think that's actually what led to like my main issue with the film is the first part. Like, the movie literally does start with an action sequence. All the action sequences in this, outside of like one, which I'll explain a little later, all of them really stand out to me. Like, I think they're all really, really good, and I think all of them stand out more, aside from the one that I don't think was like super amazing. I think all of them stand out more than the ones in the first film, and I think it's mostly because they all kind of, except for the first one. The first one I think was just very different all around, but that was just a crazy beginning to the film. I was like, man, that was just a nuts way to even fight. So aside from the first one, I think what they really do that I loved was just more hand-to-hand combat. Of course, there are a ton more guns, but there's a lot of more hand-to-hand combat, which kind of harkens to my favorite fight from the first film, which is actually the first fight sequence when the people break into his house. That's my favorite part. It's still not a ton of hand-to-hand combat even in that, but it's just a simple location. There's not really a bunch of music playing or anything. It's a bunch of people broke in his house, and he takes them out, and that's why I love that sequence. And I get that feeling from this, even with the added music and like 5 times as many people, and he's taking them all out, and it's a perfect blend of gunplay and hand-to-hand combat. So I really enjoyed that a lot more. And then, like I said, as far as the story element, that is my biggest issue. It's really when they set up the story for this, because it's just like with the first one, but kind of in reverse. So the first movie starts off with the story, and then eventually we get into the action. But I think it's because this starts off with a great action sequence, and then it goes into the actual build-up for, the main story. It kind of feels like a bit of a slump. It doesn't start slow. It starts really, really fast, and then it slows down quite a bit. And it slows down for a while. And it's not all bad. Like, it slows down, but you only start to notice it when it's getting closer and closer to the action sequence, because it's like, okay, we're setting up the story, we're meeting new characters, we're actually learning more about the assassin world, which for whatever reason I really loved learning. It was like the simplest stuff, and I was like, that's interesting to learn. It was really, really simple stuff, and just little things, and him even setting up for the first mission that he was going on. Really cool stuff, and we see more connections, and we see a broader scale of this assassin world that they have with him going, international, and it was really cool. I was like, I like this idea, and we see just more elements than what we got in the first film, which was, we got the hotel and the gold coins and, like one of their rules. We get a new rule in this film, and then we get new locations and new elements that the assassins actually get to utilize that didn't show up in the first film. And I was like, I really like this. And it was going on, explaining the story, getting more kind of backstory on the assassin kind of community that they built for this world. And then it gets to like the setup of like right before the first big action sequence, and I was like, I feel like somewhere in there there are definitely some scenes that could have been taken out for me personally, and I'll have to get to that in spoilers. But during that first sequence, like once it gets to the actual mission, I feel like there's too much setup right before the first big action or technically the second big action sequence, and I was like, this is where I feel like it's starting to drag. It's like when he finally gets there, you keep expecting, like, or at least I was like, all right, maybe this next step or this next scene or the scene after the next one, that's when the action happens. And I just kept expecting that until it finally happened. Like, eventually, like, all right, it's not going to happen until after this. But leading up to the moment where it's definitive, like, obviously nothing's going to happen until after this scene, It was just like, all right, this could lead to the action, or that could lead to the action, or something can happen here, or maybe it'll just happen a bit faster. And that was it. And that's, like I said, when he first gets to the actual mission. And I still think that's like an extra, it's only like a small chunk of time, it's only like 5 minutes. So in total, after that first big action sequence, I think it's only like 20 minutes, or maybe 30 minutes worth of content where it's building up the whole story for this film, introducing us to the new characters and why they matter to John, or why they matter, you know, in general. And for the most part, like I said, it was totally fine. It was just like, it started to drag at like the last minute. I was just like, I'm just waiting for the next action sequence at this point. I was like, loved everything we got. I feel like we know everything we need to know. And there was just an extra 5 to 10 minutes where I was like, all right, we know everything that we need. And right here, just skip straight to the action. So like for a tiniest little bit, it bothered me. And that's really it. After that, it goes straight back to like the first film, and I thought the pacing was perfect afterwards, because we get our first big action sequence, and then after that, I think it flows perfectly, where we have our big set piece, then we have, you know, our talkative portion with the characters, then another big action sequence. The sequences were much longer, and I think that's a part of it too, where it's like they set up a lot of the story, and it's because those fight sequences, I think all of them are longer than every fight sequence in the last film. I personally feel that way, except maybe the first one. I think every single fight sequence, because some of them are so close together, I count them as one sequence, they all feel like they last longer than any of the fights in the last film. And it's crazy to think that, but it still works with the story. It's not like, oh, it's just mindless action constantly. It's still a really big action set piece, and then it still goes back to the story elements, and you're like, man, that was a really long fight scene, but it still has, you know, useful story in between these action set pieces. And I think that's good. But going into this film thinking it's going to be like, yeah, it's going to like blow you away as far as being like twice as amazing narratively speaking, that's not going to happen. It's just like the first film. This happens, he does this, and then people die as he does it. That's it, but it's still really great. So if you go into it knowing that it's still just an action sequence with a very simple premise, simple narrative, simple story, and that's it, you're going to get exactly what you want. Because that's what I was expecting. My girlfriend thought it would be a little better. She actually thought it would be better because of the reviews. But I was like, I never thought that. I was like, yep, this can get great reviews all at once. I know it's not going to have like the most epic story. I know what I'm here for. And that's exactly what I got personally. I got exactly what I wanted. And it was like just a bunch of guns and a bunch of shooting left and right. And a lot of hand-to-hand combat, which I actually like more than even the gunplay. So that I really loved. Like I said, all the set pieces really stick out as far as the action. The second fight scene in the film, that's the only one that I think was like less than the others, and it's simply due to the fact that the location was just dark. That's really it. And you know, you couldn't see as much of the action, and it's not like it's the movie's fault. It's literally the location. Like, well, I guess technically it's the movie's fault, but it's just the location. And even in that, it's still a great action sequence. That's just, if I had to rank them, the second fight scene is my least favorite, just because it's a much darker set. But there's, even in that, there's still some cool stuff, which I don't want to explain because of spoilers. But even with it being my least favorite out of the whole film, it's still an amazing action sequence, and then it goes on to even greater stuff. Of course, we have kind of like our two main assassins that kind of got a lot of play in the trailers. That's played by Common and Ruby Rose. Both of them are like, you know, the on John Wick level assassins, where they're both like really great. And you have like all your useless, you know, cannon fodder henchmen, where it's like, here's 8 dozen dudes going after John Wick, but he's just boom, 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 they're all done. But these two kind of keep pace with them as they, you know, go through their fights. And I love that, and especially with Common. He has what I think is the best fight sequence in the whole film, because they have, all I can say without spoiling it, is that they literally have a traveling assassin's duel. That's the best way I can explain it. Like, they go between quite a few locations, and it's like, wow, that was really cool. And like a bunch of different ways of fighting, guns, hand-to-hand, knives, everything, dodging this way and that way. There's even a sequence in there that is really cool, but it's also absolutely hilarious, and I definitely can't spoil that. But that was really good. There's another part that made my girlfriend laugh like crazy, just because of the result of them fighting and what ended up happening. She was cracking up because of it. But I love that fight sequence, and they even have multiple fight sequences. They have like 2 really, really great fight sequences that I truly, truly love. So really enjoyed what they did with Common's character. Ruby Rose is kind of more related to like the main kind of villain of the film, so she kind of sticks with him for the most part, and then she kind of has her moment towards the end. But really good. She's definitely, you know, she's in there, of course, because she's tied to like the main guy. So it was really cool seeing how John Wick kind of interacts with these two characters, because they're, like I said, everyone else is kind of just the henchmen, and they're the ones kind of meant to be on his level, or at least close to it, because of course it's John Wick. But I really love that. I like the way they did it. We get some really interesting stuff that, kind of ties into what may or may not be related to the assassin world, just some stuff that John Wick knows about. And I definitely don't want to get into that, just because I thought it was, once again, it's some of the stuff we learned about the assassin world that I feel is spoilers, because it was something I certainly wasn't expecting, but I like the way they did it, so I won't give that away. But there's an element kind of towards the end of the film, and they kind of introduced this new sort of location, and I was like, it's interesting how that seems to tie in, but not exactly in the way that I was expecting. Just knowing the film, I was like, oh, that's totally different than, it ties in differently than I was expecting, and it seems to introduce something that they could dive into, in the future. So I thought that was really great. Narratively speaking, I thought it was fine. Going into it, it was just like the first movie. Very simple story. Somebody did this, somebody wants that. John Wick is going to kill people. That's the film. But it was really good. Love the action set pieces. I think personally, despite like the little part in the beginning where I feel like, it was kind of slow, like just a little bit leading up to finally getting that second action sequence, I felt like there was just a little bit extra tacked on. Outside of that, I'd still say I think I prefer this one more than the first movie. I think that one gets into it a little bit better, just because it literally started, they have to, tell the story from the beginning. With this being the sequel, it's like, hey, let's just kick it off, of course, with the super cool action sequence. Kind of like a James Bond thing, where it's like, here's the epic action in the beginning where he's basically doing another mission, and then it's like, all right, now here's 30 minutes of us actually setting up this film. It was almost exactly like that. That's the best way I can explain it. It's basically John Wick. His fight scene is basically, if you imagine James Bond doing another mission before we finally get the setup to this mission. It's kind of like that. So outside of that, I'd still say I think I actually like this better than the first film. It introduces more stuff to the assassins. The fight sequences stand out a lot more to me because we get a lot of personal stuff with the hand-to-hand combat, especially, like I said, the combat thing. I wish I could just watch that again right now, because honestly, I don't know how long that fight sequence was. It probably wasn't even actually 10 minutes, but it felt like it in the best way possible, because they go through so many locations and they have different fighting styles throughout. It uses like every possible type of fighting that they use in the film is actually showcased in the middle with this common fight. And that's my personal favorite. You guys might like the ending a bit more, because the ending is super awesome. And also the ending, aside from being an awesome set piece, the ending is filmed, as someone who actually, like, outside of just my YouTube stuff, I actually do film production. It is amazing to watch that sequence, because I can't get into it just because I don't want to give away, because it's in the trailers, but I don't want to say which set piece is the final set piece. But the way they do it, I was just like, man, I don't know how, I don't know all the tricks, but they were in that film. They were in that final fight, and I was like, I love watching this. Like, even outside of the fighting, I just love visually how they did this. So that was great to watch as well. But ultimately, love this film. I actually, like I said, I actually think I prefer to see this one than the first one, even though they're both absolutely amazing films. I'm glad that this actually was the great sequel to a great first film. Amazing that they managed to pull it off with the way they do such a minimalist narrative approach, because it's meant to just be over-the-top action, but they still manage just enough. It's not perfect, like I said, narratively, but it's definitely more than good enough for what I was expecting. I didn't expect anything more than what we got in the first film, and the emotion isn't there as much, because like the first one, it kind of pulls you in with like the sad emotion from the beginning, and this, they don't do the same thing, because you kind of can't do the exact same emotion twice, where it's like he lost someone and it's the same person. So they can't exactly do that twice, but it's still really well done, and I loved what they added to the assassin narrative for just the world they built. Loved all the characters that were in it, at least the ones that stood out, the cannon fodder characters. They did their job. They made John Wick look cool, so I like them too. But ultimately, I think this was a really good one, and we'll see what the future holds for John Wick. How they're gonna continue this, who knows. I heard possibly that there was some maybe prequel rumor to, or maybe that was, I think someone was just talking about that, but if they did kind of what they did with Taken, and pretty much every movie where they make a TV show out of it now, and it's a prequel to like the cool action character, I hope they don't do that. There's no point to it. But really love this, of course. Would love to know what you guys thought about it. If you want to save your comments and you don't want to bother with the spoiler tag, like I said, I'm going to be doing a spoiler discussion, so you can just jump right over to that if you want to put your comments there. But if you want to put them here before that ends up being uploaded, just make sure that you put a spoiler tag in the comment section so people don't get any spoilers for the film. And most of the stuff that you guys probably mentioned, considering when I'll end up uploading, because I'll upload this right after I finish, and then I'm going to do my spoiler video right after, I'll probably discuss a lot of things you guys might have comments on in my next video, which I'll do before I even get to read any of your comments. But still, I would love to go back and forth with you guys. If there is anything I end up missing, in my next video, still would love to talk about it with you. But would love to know what you guys thought about this film. I did this with the first one. I'm going to do it for this one as well. I would love to know how you guys think this compares to other action films, that you guys just really, really love. Whether it's, has gunplay in it or if it's just martial arts, would love to know. I think the closest would probably be John Woo films, which may be the inspiration for John Wick having that actual name. But, those are probably the closest ones where it mixes martial arts and, definitely it's gun kata as it's called, but like, gunplay. So would love to know where you guys feel this kind of lands as far as, great action films and just how you think it compares definitely to the first one, with that being such a big action film and this one actually being a really good sequel. If you don't think it's better, you gotta at least think it's good. But, love to know what you guys think about it, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.